Hello, and thank you for listening. This is Matt with LibreQuest. This podcast can be found at LibreQuest.org, archive.org, and the video version on YouTube. I will typically start an episode with music, and we'll also start with news. However, I am a little behind on schedule, so what I intend to do today is simply just go ahead and start discussing what it was that I wanted to get to in episode 9, which I intended to release on the 10th of October, but it is now the 11th of October, 2019. And that is unboxing and installing DOS 6.22 and unboxing and installing PC-DOS 6.3. So I purchased a copy of DOS 6.2, and this particular package was actually intended to be sold with a new PC. They didn't have a new PC that this would pair well with, so I just bought the package by itself. Anyhow, the front of the package is the user manual, and it is shrink wrapped to an envelope with a certificate of authenticity for the DOS 6.22. Inside the envelope are the install disk. So when I first unboxed, I guess you could call it unboxing, it was more like unpackaging or unshrink wrapping. When I first opened the package, the first thing you see is the certificate of authenticity, but behind it there is a mailer that says there's something inside your computer you should know about, and it's actually the registration for the DOS 6.22. And it was kind of cool. There's actually an offer to win a cruise for 2 to the Bahamas. So I doubt that's still any good, but it might be, so I will be promptly sending that in. I'm kidding, of course, so that was really cool. But in the manual, I did notice there was a section about doublespace. And if you're aware of DOS 6.0, there were issues with doublespace. And doublespace was a huge feature for those in business because it meant that you could compress your data and increase the amount of storage that you had on your systems. And this was something that end users could use. However, there were issues, and it was very specific, a circumstance where you could lose data, but because of doublespace, there was data loss. And I do believe that the biggest reason for 6.22 was to fix the issues with doublespace. However, my install disks that were in the package were actually warped. They were all bent out of shape, and I don't know how they were stored, but these disks are coming up on 30 years of age at this point, quickly approaching that. So I guess I shouldn't have been surprised that they were not going to be usable, especially considering that it was literally just a manual that had been shrink wrapped. So that was a bit unfortunate. I would not attempt to insert these disks into my floppy disk drive because I don't want to ruin my floppy disk drive, even though I really did want to try the OS. So I jumped right into unboxing the copy of PC-DOS 6.3 that I had, and this one I was a little more hopeful that I would actually get some installable media, but after how I had seen those discs in the 6.22, I was actually kind of worried about it. So if you're watching the video version, you can see the box, and on the back it says with PCMCIA support, and that's a huge deal for this release of DOS. PCMCIA, especially for business users who use laptops on the go, this was a huge deal because this was allowed you to expand your peripherals in your system, and it gave you options for networking, audio, external drives, etc. So it was a really big deal, and I just thought that was cool that was on the back of the box. So the manuals or the books that are inside the box were the installation guide. There's also a user's guide, and these books are very hardy, very thick books. So I didn't actually look all the way through all of them, but I just thought they were interesting to see. And then there was what is this one? This one is the command reference and error messages. So that is definitely handy for knowing the commands and what all the errors mean. another book that's inside this box is the Everyday DOS, which is pretty cool because it's basically how to use DOS. And it says it's a step-by-step approach. And it's published by QUE. I'm not really sure what that is, but that is also in the box there. And the last one, what is this? Let's see. I'm actually watching the video and kind of narrating along here. It is the data compression guide. Oh, of course, yes, incredibly important. So, especially considering the how storage space has changed over the years. When this was released, storage space was, was incredibly important, especially for business. So next in the box was the registration card for PC-DOS. And there were also some stickers included in the box where you would stick those on your registration card and actually mail that in. And it was like a specific number for this box. And there's also an offer to win a ThinkPad notebook computer. It says register today to become eligible to win ThinkPad feature-packed notebook computer with a minimum of 4 megs of RAM, 160 meg hard drive, active matrix color monitor, and exclusive TrackPoint system. And I seriously want that computer. But again, I'm sure these offers are no longer valid. So yeah, with the disappointment of the DOS 6.22, I had to jump right into 6.3 all at the same time. I was just going to make a video and a podcast about 6.22 and hopefully getting it installed and trying out some different programs and games and maybe later getting some additional older software to unbox if I can find it and installing that on the system. But yeah, obviously that wasn't going to work with some warped disks. So looking at the disks that were in the box for PC-DOS 6.3, all the disks actually appeared to be very well preserved in that box. They were still in the plastic wrapping, and I had to remove that. And there were 5 installation disks. So all of them were straight. They didn't appear to be warped or have any discoloring or anything like that to the outside of the disk itself. So I was actually pretty hopeful that I would actually get a usable copy here from these floppy disks. So the next step, because I was using VirtualBox to actually install the operating system, was to make disk images. And I like to use a GUI program called GNOME Disk Utility. And all of these things, of course, can be accomplished from the terminal. And if I'm in a terminal already, I'll probably just use that method. But this GUI is so useful. It can do FS tab entries, it can make disk images, it can restore disk images, and it's all a GUI, so I like to use that. So booting into VirtualBox, and I knew that I was going to have some problems because when I was actually making the disk images, I was getting errors from the GNOME Disk Utility. It was telling me, hey, I've had a read error creating this image, and it just made me aware, hey, it's got problems. So when I actually did the installation, I got an error on the very first disk, and then I went ahead and proceeded to disk 2. I thought, you know what, I'm going to install a corrupted version of this just so I can actually get a look at it, just because I want to. Now, however, when it came to it asked me for disk 4. So I went through disk 1, it gave me an error. I went ahead and moved over to disk 2. It got up to close to 90% complete, 94% complete, and then it started asking for disk 4. And no matter what I did, I could not get it to recognize the disk 4 image. It was that badly corrupted. So again, I was like super disappointed. You know, I just unboxed this box, never been opened, looked great. I thought it might be in working condition, and it just wasn't. And so I ended up giving up on trying to get VirtualBox to recognize the disk 4 image that I had made. And eventually I just turned the virtual machine off, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to see if this thing will actually boot into DOS. And of course, that was after a long while of trying to get it to actually recognize the image that I had made. So it was kind of unfortunate, really, but I exited the installer, eventually shut down that virtual machine. And I was actually surprised because when I rebooted the virtual machine, it booted into DOS. And so it was actually kind of exciting. I was like, this is great. I've got a very corrupted installation of DOS 6.3, PC-DOS 6.3, I should say. And so the first thing that it asked me is for the month and date and all that stuff, and then it just put me right into the terminal. It was pretty cool. So I tried Choice, and Choice happened to work, so that was cool. I got a clean copy of Choice. So, so the first thing I did is I went to the DOS directory, and I just did a dir space /w, just to get a look at all the programs and all the things that were actually in that directory, just because it was cool to see. Now, I don't know. I didn't try everything because who knows? Most of the stuff that it actually was able to copy over and create an image for was probably corrupted, so I didn't really play around in it much. And I actually considered, just after seeing this and being so disappointed, just deleting the virtual machine. But I thought, you know what? I'm gonna boot back into it, and I'm gonna do a del command, which is the delete command for DOS. So I just did del space C://, and that's just to delete the entire drive C. So that's how I ended up ending my testing of this, because it was corrupted, but it was exciting actually to get it to actually see it see it at least boot into the corrupted install. So that was my experience with unboxing it. And I have been doing, or I want to do basically like a giveaway, and I'm recording this on a Friday, and I intended to use the Friday show to announce what my raffle item will be. And the raffle item is basically like, I test something, I take a look at it, I put it as a raffle, and it's just, I tell you, hey, if you would like to have this, I'm probably not going to do anything else with it. If you would like to have it, then I will send it to you, but you'll have to buy a raffle ticket. And so it's $1 a month over on subscribestar.com. And there's a link to it on LibreQuest.org if you're interested. The item for this week was the Mac Play port of Descent that was released in 1995. Now, I don't have any Subscribestar users yet, so I'll talk about that. I'm planning to record a second podcast tonight, which I planned to record tonight anyway, but I didn't get yesterday's out, so that's what I'm doing now. So this is the day late podcast, podcast number 9. But these, I had thought I'll take a look at the DOS 6.2.2 and PC DOS 6.3, and then I'll raffle them off. But they don't work, they're collectibles, sure. So I figured, I still want to pass these on if anybody's interested. So if you're interested in having these, I will send them out to the first person who goes to LibreQuest.org, joins the forum, and sends me a personal message saying that you would like to have these. And you can send me a P.O. box or something like that, or a business address, something like that. If you don't want to use your personal, I wouldn't use my personal address because it's the internet and things get hacked, kind of an idea, so for your privacy. But if you're interested in having these, I will send them out to the first person that sends me a personal message on LibreQuest.org. All right, that's all for today, and I will talk to you later. Thanks for joining me.